Good evening. How are we all? Now, tonight we're going to do something a little bit interesting, and there's going to be 6 of us. Not straight away, but there will be. So be patient. I've recently learned to do that by being nagged by everyone around me. Now, we're going to talk about the history of mental health. Now, I'm going to put a disclaimer out. Now, we're not here to trigger anyone, but especially with what's happened in the older generation. Now, we've got people from Florida, we've got Ireland, we've got Chicago coming, we've even got Essex. So, all I've got to say is we will see you in about 30 seconds. Ladies.
Hi, Adam.
Hi,
Adam.
Hello. Yes, and I forgot to say before we came on, long time no see, Katie.
Oh my god, it's been such a long time. Oh my god. When was the last time I was on here?
I don't know.
It
Oh no!
was that long ago that none of us can remember.
It is. And I know I need to check in my YouTube history. But all I'm saying, it was before Christmas anyway.
Yeah, it was definitely before Christmas.
Yes. No. For everyone that's going to tune in, we are live on Facebook and YouTube. Please share this in awareness. And yeah, all I've got to say is I'm going to start by asking one of you, well, each of you, same question. When you hear mental health, what comes to you? So I'm going to start with you, Cynthia.
When I hear mental health, what comes to me?
Yeah.
My 3 brothers.
Yeah. What about you, Katie?
I guess it's just my family and friends.
Caroline?
Yeah, I always think of my dad because he was a mental health nurse, a psychiatric nurse, and I kind of grew up with a great awareness around mental health. So I always think of that. Yeah, I mean, all my family are actually, one part of my family are all in mental health, psychiatric nursing and psychotherapy and psychiatry and stuff like that. So it's something that's very kind of has always been part of my life and my awareness of it. And also different people, members of my family as well, who have suffered with mental health illness. So I can see it from both sides, we'll say,
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, before I answer, Kerry, Anthea said she was going to be a little bit late because she's working. And Lorraine, I ain't got a clue. I don't know where he is. You know what he's like with time differences. He needs to be nagged at sometimes. I love him. Mental health. I'd say adventure.
Adventure, yes.
Adventure.
Well, yes.
Yes, that's all I can say. Right. People's going to be wondering why I brought different age groups on. Now, obviously, we've all got our different experiences with mental health, from the older generation to the younger generation. And I thought, you know what, let's spice it up and bring Irish background, Cynthia's background, and even the younger generation in UK. So I'm going to start, because the things I've come across, which inspired me to actually set this podcast up in doing my level 3 in mental health and what I've learned. Wow. And what I told you about it, Caroline.
Yeah.
So I know absolutely nothing about the Irish background. Nothing. So please inspire us.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's changed an awful lot over the years from a time when my father was basically kind of used to run the admissions board in a massive, huge mental health hospital in Enniscorthy in the southeast of Ireland. So it's hard to describe how large it was for an area. So it used to kind of serve, I suppose, the whole of the southeast of Ireland. And I suppose a lot of people in the area worked there. And at that stage, it was a lot different to what it looks now. It's actually closed down now because it was pretty much, not just people with mental health, but I would say people who were kind of hidden away from society that had stigmas for different reasons, not just mental health. So it's like unmarried mothers, people who had like, I suppose now, I think we've talked about it before, Adam, where, people who had like just a breakdown or a nervous breakdown or something like that might have been put in to the hospital and kind of forgotten about. People disowned them.
That's right.
And didn't really want to know. They would have just, I suppose they still had the kind of padded rooms and, all that kind of thing. So it's kind of more incarceration nearly more than any kind of major kind of treatments as such. So then as time progressed and things started to change from, say, the time when I was, I was born in the 1970s. So in the 1980s, then it started to change a lot. So eventually it got to the stage where my father then, he was offered retirement early when he was in his 40s because they were kind of gradually closing down the hospital ward by ward and realizing that, I suppose, the treatment that they were giving patients, was very much kind of not healthy, and so they started to move them out into the community. So they'd have them in houses that they could live independently, but with a mental health nurse. So my dad then started working in residency. It was kind of where maybe there would be the HSC might have a house, like a normal house, try to set it up as a normal house and have the routine of a normal house. So my dad would be kind of, making breakfast in the morning, making sure that they had, a secure home life, and then get them to work in the community. So they'd have them working in community workshops or wherever they could kind of put them into enterprise, get them little jobs and stuff like that, so they could go out each day and have a structure to their lives, and then come back and have a safe place where they can still have, maybe medication and, have the nursing that they needed, but definitely integrated them into the community again, and started to give them more wellness and well-being model than it had been before, where it was just kind of locked away and hidden away from society. So then I suppose what we're talking about and why we're here, and even why Adam has set this up, it's about kind of dissolving that stigma, because even though things have moved on an awful lot, there's still that stigma that was attached to kind of the historic view of, kind of mental health. And people are still to this day sometimes find it difficult to express if they've had problems with anxiety or with depression or any serious mental health illnesses. So the more people talk about it, the more it dissolves that stigma. And we've come an awful long way, but there's definitely more that can be done, and this is a fantastic platform for all of that. And I feel that what we're doing here, it's not just talking about stigma, it's about giving people an alternative to kind of healing, really. We're talking about the healing arts here, and different ways of coping with the challenges that life throws at us, and realize that, mental health is part of our overall health. It's not something separate. It's something that has to be looked at and taken care of on a daily basis. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Katie, obviously we know you absolutely love singing, but obviously you do that because out of experience through your own struggles, which I respect you for and congratulate you for how far you've actually come. But what do you actually know from mental health from the older generation to what you know now?
I mean, mental health has always been like a thing. Like, it's always been like a topic that has always had a bit of stigma around it. But I think as a society, we are growing in a way of like we're understanding mental illness, and like mental health is actually just as important as physical health. So I think in many ways as a society we are improving when it comes to like understanding, and when it comes to like actually like listening to people's stories and just being like, yeah, I'm not afraid to like talk about my struggles. But I think because I am the generation of like social media, I think social media is one of the biggest problems that can really affect people having any form of mental illness. I think especially as a society, we're perceived to like wanting to, you know, just perfection. And I think perfection is kind of a mindset that really impacts everybody, and we kind of have that mindset that we have to be perfect 24/7. But I don't really like using the word perfect, because I don't really think there's a meaning, like a true meaning of like perfect. I mean, you can have like close to perfection, but I like to think that as opposed to perfection, we're just improving as a human being every day, and we're learning something new as we're growing, and we are developing as humans, as a society. But yeah, I think mental health, it really affects like everybody. Like, it can affect teenagers, it can affect the older generation, and it can definitely affect like men. And I think when it comes to mental health and bringing awareness to men, it is kind of brought awareness about, but it's a shame that when it comes to, yeah, because of the history of, if you talk about your feelings, it kind of makes you weak, but it's not true at all. Like,
No.
talking about your feelings and coming to terms with, yes, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling lonely, I'm feeling scared. It's okay to feel like that, you know, because I mean, I don't like using the phrase because I think it's like probably like overused, but it's okay not to be okay, you know.
Absolutely. That's our motto. Yes. We've also got Adelaide tuning in, Adelaide, Australia, with Melissa Christie.
Hi,
She's
Melissa.
yeah, it'll be a Friday morning now, so she'll be getting ready for work. Yeah, she told me that earlier. Now, Cynthia, well, where do we start with you? How do I say this? Because you have gone so lot far, aren't you? With raising awareness. Yeah, with your journey about your brother. Yeah, for the viewers that ain't got a clue what I'm talking about, Cynthia, please explain.
Well, let me just start by saying this, and thank you so much, Adam, for providing this wonderful platform to be able to talk about the elephant in the room, because the elephant is still in the room.
Oh, yeah. Always will be.
Right. As you can all see, I'm the only person of color here, and I'm saying these things for a reason. And number two, I believe I'm the senior citizen here. So, you know, I'm a 50s baby. So let me say this, and I'm just going to say, I think, Adam, you know by now, I kind of say it how it is.
Of course.
When I was growing up, Black people didn't have mental health problems. We said It was the white people that had mental health problems that went to therapists and took medication, not the Black people, because we were in denial.
Okay.
We were in denial. We didn't talk about it because, as everyone knows, the history of African Americans, one of the things being that we are strong people. So we endured a lot. So when it comes to us talking about mental health issues, well, we don't have that thing, because as Katie alluded to, because to admit that would admit weakness, which we know that is not the truth. So I also came from a very devout Christian background, and being in a Christian, in a faith-based community, you must have the devil in you if you have mental health issues, and you must not be praying hard enough, and you must not be going to church enough. We were already going 7 days a week. We needed to add an 8th and a 9th and a 10th day, if that was the case.
Yeah.
So the stigma in the African American community was probably even more intense and different in other cultures, just because we were of a different culture, and again, because we were, quote unquote, seen as people of this phenomenal strength because of what we endured for 400 years. So for us to talk about mental health issues was a no. And that is why there was no early intervention when not one, not two, but all three of my siblings began showing signs of mental health issues. Because you don't, that doesn't happen around these parts in this neighborhood. So it was very interesting. And then let me throw this in as I conclude. I had an uncle for as long as I can remember, from when I was a very little girl, who had been in a state mental health hospital, which was about 30 years. But my youngest brother, has exceeded that now, because he's actually been in a mental health facility for going on 35 years. But I had an uncle who had been in a mental health facility for 30 years. And it's funny because after 30 something years, a friend of the family, as I say, broke him out, busted him out, but he, of course, he was very mentally ill. So it was interesting, because when you heard of someone committing suicide, we automatically knew they were white. Well, guess what? Not true. My oldest brother committed suicide, and he was very dark. So it was very enlightening living through what I lived through and continue to live through, because I continue to deal with that, because my youngest brother is still very much alive and well, and we communicate. But just hearing other, people's perspective, not from what I think, but from what I know, as I listened to Caroline and her experience with her father being a psychiatric nurse, and our millennial here, Katie, which I love my millennials. This is just great, and we have to keep the conversation going, because everyone has mental health, and I believe that mental illness touches all of us in some type of way.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, Cynthia, it's funny. I recognize I have an uncle who was in. Basically, we didn't know he was a great uncle of mine. Actually, my father was working in the hospital, and he came across this man who had the same kind of surname as my mum's, and it turned out that it was actually an uncle she didn't even realize he was a very clever man. He was a school master. He had what we would have seen as today a nervous breakdown, and he was put into the hospital, and he was there for 30 years at that stage when he found him, and he actually died there. He never left, and then people didn't even know he was in there. They had just kind of, you see, Ireland, every country has a different challenge, we'll say, and because we only got our independence just in kind of the 1930s. So before that, we have generations, 800 years of oppression, so that caused massive mental health issues and we also had the Catholic Church on top of that. So we had, the oppression of the Catholic Church, which was kind of, they set up institutions for women, unmarried mothers, that they went in. They weren't paid for their labor, so they would just be basically kind of, their babies were taken from them and they were sent off to, other families in America or whatever. They were just, so that was kind of through the Catholic Church, and the government knew about it as well. This was even when we got our kind of free state as such. And so there's so much complex kind of social problems there that were, and amongst that then people still didn't talk, because it was in the culture in Ireland not to speak. You don't talk about anything. You don't talk. It was all kind of say nothing, because of the years and years and years of, the fear of saying anything. Then you get taken away or locked away or whatever, so that leaves a massive problem then for kind of, you talk about denial. Like Irish people have that as well, where it's kind of denying your own emotions. So they definitely, I suffered from myself as well, irritable bowel syndrome and stuff. And when you just push everything down, and you have that kind of pattern of being strong as well, because like we were the same, when you're in that kind of atmosphere of oppression, you have to become very strong. And like that's where our music came and all our culture came from, kind of, I suppose, having to have that innate spirituality within us that we do have, apart from the kind of authoritarian, religious kind of background. There is that kind of connection to like a higher, I suppose, understanding of life, so connected to nature and everything like that. But I can understand this. I resonate with your story, Cynthia. Yeah.
Right. Well,
Hey, Lauren.
Lauren Harris.
You shaking your head, Lauren.
Oh, you got on.
And this is the epitome of being vulnerable and transparent, because mental health is mine's challenge today in a number of ways. So much so that, sorry, you know how fires happen. And there's only a few things that make me miss these kinds of appointments. And one of them is with my clients, a thing called a fast action call. It's the do not cry wolf call. And only break glass in case of emergency call. And so I had one of those. And so all the press has stopped until everything is back to the way it should be, because that's having each other's back. That's perfect. So anyway, and so I have 6 minutes, and I just came to apologize. Yeah, I know, because now everything's thrown off. Or is it? Or is it put where it's supposed to be all along?
Wow.
Well,
but who knows? Because of you being late, Lauren, we've got a question. It's for all of us, but you can answer first. How did or do you move through the perspectives of mental health within your family and encouraging the discussion?
In my family?
Yeah.
That's a good one. And I have two families. I have the adoptive family and I have my birth family.
All right, and both families then?
Well, I will say this. In one family, I've not heard any discussion, although it's running rampant. That's the birth family. biological family, and then in my adoptive family just recently, because my siblings in that family were all older than me in my adoptive family, and so they're all alive. They're like 80s and stuff like that, you know. And they haven't. I'm just keeping it real. I'm not like, ooh, telling family secrets. If you don't want people to know about stuff, then don't do it.
That one.
I don't apologize for the truth, and it is a part of my truth because I'm in that family. So there. So I'll just say this: they've just recently, you know, my siblings' kids are kind of they're really trying to bring the conversation in because they're experiencing it because it landed on them. It was their parents, but we grew up like brothers and sisters because I was so far from my other siblings, you know what I'm saying? So their kids were kind of like my brothers and sisters. So, I mean, I have nieces that are older than me. You see what I'm saying? That kind of thing. So, and they're talking about it. It's not easy because now my siblings are getting old and decisions have to be made for some of them now. And so it's rising like splinters in a fingertip, rising to the surface. And, but I'll say this. One thing I have learned from watching and dealing with my own is this, because I kind of stay way away from the splatter area. You see what I'm saying? You know why? Because when you find what works for that balance you need to be your best version of yourself, and when you can't be, you've been smart enough to leave some clues for yourself of who you really are when you can't show up as this person who is at their best right now. And so that takes a huge amount of commitment to the greater good, to get past fears and judgmental hangups and just that thing that comes with forging a path that's never been walked before. So, you know, purpose, legacy, all of those things. So, you know, I'm encouraged. I'll tell you that I'm encouraged, but I treat it like a small elevator with a big old wet labradoodle in there that's just waiting to shake itself, right? I'm at the doors. Before the doors open up, I'm way back from it because I already know you can walk away from a situation smelling like you had been in that elevator with that wet labradoodle and you had never even got in there, but you were too closer than you should have been. And so that's hence the term long-handled spoon. That's not being cautious or judgmental or whatever. You know what it is? It's being skeptical. And that's what we're supposed to be. And what skeptical means in my world is this. You look at everything from a good distance, like a good piece of art. You back up and you look at it. So you can see it from a perspective. So you can see it from top to bottom, bottom to top, side to side, side to side, corner to corner, and corner to corner. Because when we do that, everything that people try to use against you, all the things that people don't understand and say it's an abnormality, all those things that make you the person who gets picked and chosen last, all those things are the things that have your soul's DNA encased within them, which means all of your greatest superpowers, all of your greatest gifts, all of your greatest fireside chats, the stories that people will tell around dinner tables and firesides for thousands of years to come. All of those things live right on the other side of your breath. And that is where purpose is waiting for each and every one of us. And that's my story. And I'm sticking to it. So that's what I got. I'm sorry I got to run, but I love you guys. But you see, it's never really about the quantity of anything. It's about the quality of everything, including all of you who are here and all of you out there, because the promise was fulfilled where two or more of us with the same heart set, mindset, soul set, you know, not just the setting of intentions, but today we let the arrow fly and we set those intentions. That's what we need to do more of. So thank you so much for the opportunity, Adam. Nice to meet all of you, Carolyn, Cynthia, and Katie. I got to come back and meet you guys somehow. Send them my way, you guys. We'll do some more stuff. Okay, I really.
This is why you belong on the front of a magazine. I put that on the comment. You were born in front of a magazine.
Funny. You're making me blush and you can't even tell. So thank you guys. You guys get out there and be the blessing. Keep doing it. Seriously.
Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, please share this as well, Lauren. Please share this.
All right.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I love that guy. I do. I love that guy.
Yeah, I do too.
Right. Well, we've got Robert Brooker in the house. He's from somewhere in America. I keep forgetting.
Robert.
Right. I'm trying to process everything Lorenz just said.
He's the truth.
Yes. I know, Kerry. I'm back to being the only man again. Oh well, I'm loving it. But what do you think of that then, Katie?
It was just really insightful. I was just like listening to like every word he was saying. I was just like, wow, he speaks like so much knowledge, and you're just like, you just listen to him and you're just like, wow.
Yeah. Well, he has his own show, and it looks like I'm gonna have to connect you all with him. Well, I've already connected you, Cynthia, with him. I don't know if I have with you, Caroline. I don't know.
No. I think I've seen him. I think I've seen him maybe on with you, but I haven't. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's the horse. Yeah. Well, he's the horse of bathrobe moments. So it's one hell of a show.
Wow.
I've been on that a couple of times. So yeah. Right. Yeah, so Katie, what do you think of, because obviously you're still in the education world, what do you think of mental health within that world?
Yeah, when it comes to education and mental health, I have noticed that a lot of people like around my age or like younger, just people who are in any form of like education, stress can really affect your overall mindset.
Yeah.
And schools and like just the education system can really put like pressure on people to like want to do their best, to strive for like the best grades, the best degrees, the best just the best everything.
Yeah.
And when I went to secondary school, because I'm at college now, the discussion of mental health, it was discussed, but it wasn't really like properly discussed like we're discussing it now. It was just very much like, oh, we're being forced to like teach you this, like because of like the government kind of thing. And when they like gave it, like I don't think anyone really generally took that on board and was like, yeah, I'm feel less afraid to like open up about my emotions. Because when it came to like secondary school, like primary school, like no one talked about their struggles. But when I went into college, like it's definitely changed a little bit, because every person that I've like talked to, they've like been very open, and they've been like, yeah, I struggle with this. And yeah, I've definitely noticed that with education, that is one of the triggers for mental health.
Yeah.
Especially if they've got parents who like expect them to like get top grades. Because for some people, like if you're not academic, it can be a bit of pressure to like get for the grades. But even if you are like very academic, I think being academic, it kind of has its downsides, because teachers are like, oh my god, you're like intelligent, you could be the next prime minister, you can be the next Einstein. There is a pressure for them. If like they don't do well in their exams, what have they got behind them, you know? Like if they don't get into Oxford or Cambridge, like those top universities, like what's really on store for them? Because I have noticed like a lot of intelligent people really struggle with mental health. I think it is the pressure of, I think it's just the pressure of society overall to achieve a certain goal by this age, but in this way. So education, I think, is one of the biggest triggers for many people's mental health.
Yeah, well.
So, like, it's crazy because there's actually 6-year-olds who are like having anxiety and who have like serious mental illnesses. So it's just, it's really sad to see kids as young as like 6 and 5, like already having mental illnesses. And it's just like, it's just really disheartening just to see. Yeah.
And so what I hear you saying, and this keeps resonating with me, even as Caroline was talking, and she was talking about women, I forgot exactly what it was now, but it was about things in our environment that cause this. Obviously, I mean, I'm not in the medical field, and I don't discount what the medical people say about. I know that, you know, with mental health, it can be, with mental illness, it can be a combination of psychological, biological, and environmental. But the environmental piece of it is what's jumping out at me as I'm listening to Katie and as I was listening to Caroline. These external experiences that we have, such as being pressured to perform or achieve. And so these are environmental things, for lack of a better word, that contribute a lot of times. And I know, you know, that, as I said, that there are psychological, you know, there are biological factors involved as well. But I think one of the things that is really sticking out to me and standing out is when we talk about what I consider to be the environmental factor. Because if someone is not biologically or genetically prone to a mental health issue, and here you are having to have mental health issues because of society and the pressures. So how do you combat that as a parent, as a community, as relatives? You know, a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old. I used to work in an emergency room. Of course, it didn't even dawn on me, but I worked as an emergency room registrar back in the 80s. And I remember how I was blown away when I had to register this 5-year-old or this 3-year-old who tried to kill his baby sibling. Now it comes back to me like, okay, what was that all about? You know, so, but back to what I was saying, as far as that environmental piece where what you are exposed to is causing certain pressures that contribute to bad mental health. How do we deal with that? How do we combat that?
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I think the only way to combat it is kind of on an individual basis. So trying to kind of, I suppose that's where you need leaders. You need leaders who are really invested in the importance of mental health and in people's well-being, because we need to, like we both saying, you know, that the you know, taking the emphasis off performance, you know, and perfectionism, you know, and realizing that that kind of thinking is kind of an illness in itself. For me, there's no such thing as perfect, something that's perfect. That doesn't exist.
Yeah, Kate said that, yeah.
You know, there's nothing that, like, I'm a graphic designer, and, you know, I know in the world of design, and, you know, it's all about striving for perfection. But, you know, and having, creating, like, whether it's interior design, whether it's branding, whether it's fashion, whether it's whatever, you know, this beautiful, like you're saying, environment, whatever. But really, in truth, like, it's really just pushing the boundaries of what humanity can come up with in their creativity. So that's always changing. So it's just when our mind or society thinks, that puts a kind of this kind of expectation of perfection on people, and then uses that as a kind of an authority figure on children, and on, you know, in the workplace as well. It becomes, you know, this toxic environment and a stressful environment. And when you're in a toxic environment, you're going to end up sick, because that is not a healthy environment to be in. So we need to have leaders who want to create this, you know, places like schools that have the holistic design of the human, you know, in their mindset, that they understand that the environment, especially in education, is vitally important for the child. And if we were to put purpose driven kind of at the center of education, where that every human being comes to this planet with a certain purpose, and that's what Lauren was talking about, you know, that our truth should be the understanding of that's what we're trying to unfold in education. That's what we're trying to unfold in the workplace. It's not that we're trying to have this authoritarianism and like rules and regulations and, you know, suppression, oppression. And that causes depression, that causes anxiety, that causes illness. It's just not sustainable. It's not a sustainable way to live. It's a toxic way to live, and it's an unconscious culture. So what I am always talking about and Flourish by Design, and why I created the whole company, was around that, trying to bring initiatives to the world in education, in you know, teaching people about relationships as well, and what healthy relationships are, because you also, that's a toxic relationship and environment you're in if you're in an unhealthy relationship. And then just to bring awareness to people about that as well. And then in the workplace, how the workplace has to, we have to know that these environments just are going to cause mental health issues. Even if you go in well, you're going to come out unwell, you know. So we just, that's the education that we need to really start to, you know, have leaders talking about this again and again and again, so that it becomes something that's, you know, fundamentally known in society, like, and that people can implement it to change that culture into a conscious culture.
I totally agree. And this is exactly why I created this podcast with different ethnic backgrounds, because we believe in nothing but equality. It's like there is no difference between a man and a woman. We've all got mental health. We've all got our own experiences. And we're all on pretty much the same journey. So, and that's what we're doing. We're here to end it. And the stigma, and we've got a Facebook user. I ain't got a clue who it is. Yeah. He or she said, love everyone, open sharing hard topics. Invite any mental health peer to my daily Facebook Messenger. Music through the madness of daily living with stress, anxiety, depression, and more. Caution: there is lots of smiling, love, laughter present in our video chat.
We don't know where that is.
Who is that? Well, it's someone that needs to sign up for StreamYard.
That you know for sure, right?
Exactly. Oh, Beverly Sankey's here. And Melissa, thanks for tuning in. I know she's off to work now. Beverly, love what Caroline in particular had to say. You're all amazing. Well,
thank you, Beverly.
Maybe 3 of the 4 here are amazing. But yeah, so what do you think of mental health becoming mandatory in schools, like in the education and the workplace, to actually talk about part of the educational curriculum?
Yeah. Absolutely. You know,
I think it's a necessity.
That's one more, isn't it?
It needs to be part of the curriculum.
Maybe we could do that. Maybe the mental health warriors could make that happen.
Yeah.
Especially seeing that, you know, since the pandemic, and because now we have so many celebrities and public figures, I guess, i.e. celebrities, that started to come out. More people are willing to talk about it more openly because of the celebrities that have decided to come out. And so I guess the pandemic has its pros.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
You know, because as I was Googling the celebrities that have mental health issues, I could just go on and 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 on, because they're people too. They're people too. And we look up to these people, we look up to them. And, a lot of people idolize them, and then, like, they don't have problems like everybody else, but they do. Now we know. And it's amazing. We all know about Robin Williams, I believe,
Yeah.
So here this guy is making everybody laugh, and he was dealing with what he was dealing with. And it makes me, and I'm not skeptical about people that are comedic, but I have actually met people and spoken to them personally who were actually comedians, and they weren't celebrities, but these were local people that I knew. And come to find out in having conversation with them, these people were suffering from mental health issues, but they could get on a stage and make you laugh yourself under a table. But that was they were doing it for other people, but they were doing it really for themselves too, because they had to laugh to keep from dying, not to keep from crying, to keep from dying. So we look at people, we look at the outer shell, and we have no idea what a person is experiencing on the inside, regardless of color, regardless of gender, regardless of social, economic status, or what have you. As you said, Adam, we all have mental health. It's just that some of us, manage better than others. So but back to what you were saying, this is a topic. If a child can be 5 years old and have mental health issues, then they need to be learning about mental health at 5 years old.
Well, I just want to pick on a couple of comments. One from Beverly Sankey and another from you, Cynthia. I'm going to start with Beverly's. I'd rather focus on the new education system. That means we won't need it. Right. I'm going to pick on the late, great Philip Cham. And he actually taught us that there is no such thing as an education system. There never has been. It's all just information to train kids of today to become workers. He's always taught me that.
That's so true.
As for the celebrities, again, Philip Cham, we're all celebrities.
Woo!
We're all celebrities.
Newsflash.
Yeah.
We're all it. But yeah, I think with it all, we're all still suffering or even experiencing some sort of trauma in our life. Whether it's like Chester Bennington, he was a Linkin Park singer. He obviously took his own life as well due to childhood trauma, and obviously people grieve every day. Now, obviously, I don't know about you, Katie, but a lot of people that knew Philip are still struggling today, and it's been almost a year.
Yeah, I mean, he was such like a beacon of light. Like he would walk in the room and he would just light up. He was honestly such an incredible man. And so many people still speak about him, about like the amazing stuff he's done for other people. And the amazing thing about him, he had no ego about him. Like he always put others' needs before himself.
Absolutely.
So he was he's the nicest, the most caring man that I think I've ever met. And he's just so special, and I don't think any of us will ever forget him.
Obviously we're not saying that Philip took his own life, because he didn't.
No.
I don't know how he passed away, but that's irrelevant. What matters is the amount of people he actually changed lives. Obviously he changed Katie's life. He's the reason why the mental health warriors are here today. And I received a phone call in November from Ben Chai, and he actually informed me that Philip rang him up at 3:00 in the morning talking about me.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
yeah, about how impressed he was, how much goodness I've got to give, what I'm giving to the world. So I'm like, huh, okay.
Wonderful.
Oh, that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
lovely to hear, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he never put Phil first, never.
Wow.
Yeah, which I think we're all in debt though, Katie, because we're still on some Jaffa cakes.
Yeah, he did love those Jaffa cakes.
He did. He did, but
Oh, that's gorgeous.
yeah.
He
Yeah.
sounds
Now,
like
what
a kind
is this person's name again?
Philip Chan,
How do you spell the last name?
CHAN.
Got you.
Yeah, he sadly passed away. Last year.
he sounds like a visionary, Adam.
He is an absolute. Nobody can fault him. I've not got one bad thing to say about him. I never have, never will.
Yeah.
No.
And what was his background, Adam?
His background, he actually went into schools, like he worked alongside the government, and he went into schools to change maths for the better. And my 10-year-old genius, he actually asked me to get in touch with Phil and ask him. No, he didn't actually ask me. My son actually messaged Phil on Facebook and asked to teach him about trigonometry. And so obviously between Phil and Lucas, they set up some sort of appointment, which obviously I got a phone call about. And yeah, Phil taught Lucas about Pythagoras. And then he started implementing it in school. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, really? So that was the start of how you got to know him. So through Lucas, was it?
No. I knew Phil before that.
Oh, you
I
knew
knew Phil
before that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that was amazing.
I know.
So they were he was teaching Lucas maths.
He was different methods. Yeah, we've still got Philip Chan's book as well. 10-second maths expert. He was.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Amazing. He sounds like an amazing man, very inspirational, and like kind of visionary when it comes to education. But I think there's definitely if there are signs of children with at 6 years of age having anxiety, and I've heard of people self-harming and everything as well at 12 and 11 in primary schools. Now obviously there's something that's not.
That's my mum. That's my mum.
Oh, that's yours. That's on your side.
Yes.
Is she okay?
No.
Bless you, bless you, bless you, bless you, bless you, bless you, bless you 100 times.
I always thought that was Cynthia's side.
Where's that coming from?
I thought Carrie.
No, it's not.
No, Kerry's upstairs.
Okay.
Where's it coming from? Is it Katie's?
Katie said did you say that's your mom?
Oh, is it? Okay.
Drink lots of fluid and get lots of rest.
Gesundheit, they say.
And get your box of tissues and put it
someone get Carol a hot lemon. Hope she gets better anyway.
Thank you.
Well, she's had her input. There you go.
Somebody waving or some type of plant under her nose.
Vaseline, isn't it? It's like Vaseline under the nose. Or something like that. I don't know.
Sorry about that, Caroline.
Right, Carol had a 30-second fame.
I can't remember what I was saying now. That was.
I know, it's just like whatever.
No,
anyway.
Yeah, but
sorry.
I don't know about you, Katie, but when we was growing up, mental health just never existed in education. It just never existed. I actually only came across it about 6, maybe 7 years ago. That I actually knew mental health existed.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, really.
That's new too.
Exactly. That just shows it what type of world we live in.
Well, I suppose it's kind of bringing in tools for children, teaching them about awareness about it, but then also giving them tools to help keep their mental health balanced, I guess. That's
what you were talking about. You were talking about 6-year-olds. You mentioned that's what you were talking about.
yeah. Just saying that I noticed as well with friends of mine and people that the mental health issues are getting younger. So obviously it's getting to a critical point, is what I'm saying. Yeah. Something needs to be done.
And again,
probably
my concern is, where is this coming from? Like, I don't think everything is a chemical imbalance. I'm sorry that I might be out here by myself, but that's okay. I've been out here by myself a lot and for a long time. And if you say that it's not a chemical imbalance, and it is, back to what I was saying before, environmental.
Sorry,
we have a lot of power to control that.
Yeah.
I believe we have a lot of power to control what's environmental. I'm not saying that we can, cure the world of being who they are, as Katie was talking about, with social media, you're supposed to look this way and you're supposed to perform this way. And, even at my age, I have to constantly tell myself, you're okay just the way you are.
Yeah.
You don't need to look like this. You don't need to look like that. You just be who you are. We're all fearfully and wonderfully made. Some of us are tall, some of us are short, some of us are skinny, some of us have a little bit more, love, some of us are dark, some of us are light, some of us have long hair, some of us have short hair, some of us have no hair. I mean, there's a conglomeration of what we are made up of, as people. And so and you said something that really hit me. It's becoming more prevalent sooner. So we have to grab this thing. We have to grab this bull by the horns and nip it in the bud. And the only way, or one of the ways I should say, that we can do that is to continue, and I'll say it again, to have these very frank conversations.
Yeah, I agree.
Holding nothing back, calling a spade a spade.
Now, obviously, what I've learned from mental health itself is, and obviously, like I said, disclaimer, this ain't to trigger anyone, but our ancestors, if they showed any sign of weakness, mental health, they were carted off against their will and electrocuted.
Oof.
They were electrocuted. I don't know if you knew about that, Katie.
Yeah, I kind of know the brief history of mental health, and I just came across I can't remember what source I was looking at, but I was reading up about the history of mental health, and I was just really shocked, and I was just I just really felt for people that had to endure those really painful, probably really traumatizing experiments.
Exactly. And but how far it's actually come, this just shows that we do need to talk, and the best medication of it all is talking. That's the best medication anyone can ever offer.
Yeah.
And that's what I think we need to do, is get out into those communities and get talking.
But it's also creating healthy communities, and this is even what we're creating here, is a community of people who are invested in people's well-being, and that people want to kind of create spaces to bring people together through technology. And that's what we have available to us now. I know, you know, technology and social media can have a very negative, you know, connotations, but also it can be very positive. You know, and during COVID, it's been massive asset to people, to connect people all across the world. And it's making the situation worse. I think the situation was always there. I know from my awareness, since I'm 47 now, so since I was very small, you know, I've understood all the problems. I've seen my dad actually coming home and feeding me mashed potatoes when I was 16 because of a girl that he was treating had anorexia, and he was so terrified of same thing happened to me, same age, you know, and he would be kind of, because I was kind of very slim, and he was worried that I have some, you know, this kind of thing, that was so touched by the fact this girl just wasn't eating and she couldn't eat, and then he could see me being thin and he was worried that I wouldn't, you know, and I just let him feed me because I thought like it's just going to make him feel better, because you know it's overwhelming to see people struggle and to really have very major difficulties, you know, with, you know, eating disorders, with, you know, suicidal tendencies, you know, with, you know, we have massive problems with alcoholism in Ireland as well. We have huge problems with addiction to prescription drugs. We have massive problems, you know, all across the board. It's all trying to kind of fill that gap within us, you know, that just can't seem to be kind of, I suppose, from the exterior, trying to we just haven't got the education around our emotions as well, you know, how to deal with our emotions, because when you're suppressing your emotions, they don't go, you know, it's not that you're holding them in your body, so they're going to be triggered all the time. So then when, especially now we're in COVID, what's happening is all those, you know, suppressed emotions, all those, you know, traumatic things that's happened to us that we haven't digested in our bodies, those are coming to the surface because we're in such a really stressful time. So all of that is coming up, and that's causing, it's not that it's causing the mental health issues, it's bringing the mental health issues to the surface. And then we can see the situation that we've been in all the time, and all the trauma and all the everything that's happened to people intergenerationally all across the globe is coming to the surface for us now to see how can we cope with this, how can we work through our emotions, what are the healing arts, what are the, you know, and now we know that we definitely need community. We need communities that are understanding. We need communities that are here to listen. We need communities that want to help, and we need people that are going to put people into places of leadership that are invested in that and want people's well-being and want to create a new culture, like I keep talking about, in education, and bringing that, because like we have come from the Industrial Revolution, where we were, like Adam was talking about, the education system was designed around creating people to, you know, send them out to work.
Workers.
So, yeah, just workers, and basically being told exactly what to think, what to say, what to do, and like, you know, like machines as such. Now we've moved on. We don't need machines anymore. Innovation is what we need. We need creativity. And luckily, you know, human beings are born creative, and we are born with this innate creative spirit that is who we are in our truth. So if we're to go forward and to because, you know, our world is changing. It has changed drastically in the last couple of years. And we have also fantastic possibilities in that. The jobs that we need going forward aren't going to be the same as the jobs we needed, you know, even 5 years ago. So we need to kind of realize that innovation and creativity is number one, and that our automated kind of way of working and the pressure that we're putting on children in schools isn't going to be sustainable for a future, you know, of a workforce, we'll say. So we need to have, you know, like those, be supporting children in school and to bring out their talents and their skills and, you know, what we're naturally good at. And then also to be supporting them in their mental health along that journey, because they will have mental health issues, is part of our everyday life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And you touched on COVID there. Now, I know we've all got our views on it, but I want to know, what has it actually taught you over the last couple of years? Cynthia?
COVID, what it's taught me over the last couple of years. Well, let me just say this. I hear a lot of people, you know, in the news, of course, you know, it's affected the economy, obviously, and you hear a lot of people that have had negative effects from it. But what it has taught me is that I can thrive in whatever situation I find myself in, because I have prospered more during COVID than I have in my entire life, as far as not so much as monetarily, but being able to operate in my purpose. As Caroline was mentioning about technology again, you know, let me just say this. Because of COVID, or not because of COVID, but during COVID, I actually was able to speak on a major platform in Michigan in April of 2021. As a result of speaking on that platform, I met Elizabeth Jean Gagnon from Canada, who became a speaker after I did. As a result of meeting Elizabeth Jean Gagnon in Canada, I was connected to Adam Duval in the UK. As a result of being connected to Adam Duval in the UK, I was connected to Lauren Michael Harris, who you all saw that was just on, and I was on his show a couple of weeks ago. As a result of that, I met Caroline and Katie. Do I need to say anything else? So, I mean, I'm living my life. You know, COVID or not, it is what it is. And with all the hodgepodge and mishmash, and this one saying this and that one saying the other, and I just I pay attention so that I can be informed. But at the end of the day, I have my own theory about things, and I govern myself accordingly. So I'm good. I know that as far as mental health, we hear that it's on the rise because of COVID, and I'm sure it is. I mean, why wouldn't it be? However, COVID is not going to break my mental health. I have survived worse, I should say, especially based on what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing. And I talk to people that have had personal experience, you know, that have actually had it, and not just family members, but they themselves. And I won't go into all of that, you know, because we don't have to, but I just know some stuff. And so I've just come to the conclusion that I guess it's going to be around for a while. Well, guess what? I'm going to be around for a while too.
Yeah.
You know, so but it's interesting, because I know, again, in relative to mental health, COVID has really brought out the worst in a lot of people's mental health.
Yeah.
And has brought it to the forefront, which guess what? Has brought us to the forefront too. How about that?
Yeah.
So it's at the forefront, and we're at the forefront. We're here to fight.
Yeah.
We are warriors. We are warriors. So it's brought it to the forefront. So it's bringing us to the forefront. How about that?
I love that. Yeah. They say when the dark rises, the light rises to meet it. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
Totally agree. And while Cynthia was talking, I literally just checked last time Katie was actually on. It was 9 months ago.
Oh.
9 months.
I have a question for Caroline.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Ever since you, at the beginning of the show, you said that your father was a psychiatric nurse.
Mhm.
And I have just been picturing this man doing whatever he did. And it's funny that you would bring him back up and you would say about how that affected him as far as you were concerned, because of this patient that was anorexic, and he came and he fed you mashed potatoes to keep you fattened up, to make sure. It's amazing that you would say that, because all this time I've been thinking in the back of my mind, I wonder how that affected him in certain areas.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you said that, I said, that's one of the ways it affected him.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
that's interesting.
it infected him in a lot of different ways, but he did end up an alcoholic himself, you know.
Wow.
When later on in life, because
Wow.
he had his own. I don't know whether that caused it, or it was obviously a very difficult atmosphere to be in for like 30 years. And he had a marriage breakdown when I was 18. My parents marriage broke down, and then that's when he started he couldn't cope, basically, when he went into depression. And but luckily it happened only over a period, a couple of years, and then he had a liver transplant, and then he was fine, and he lived for an extra 20 years, and he just died in May. Actually, he just passed away last year. But it's interesting you said that, because I often thought that as well. He had a fantastic sense of humor. I think that kept him afloat for a long time, but it definitely must have had a massive effect on him as well, because it would have been, under serious, it was a huge hospital, and also working nights, always work nights, and working in under, he used to be in the admissions ward. So everybody who came in, basically all suicidal kind of people, at the worst that state you can be in, basically, that kind of way, when it gets to the critical stage, so that's why, like, I'm so interested in well-being and wellness, because I think when you bring in the kind of, the education around wellness and well-being, that, and if you get that into your daily routine, then really that's a prevention for what can come if you're not going to, because it is preventable if you have the right environment, and if you create the right environment in yourself. When you start, getting interested in meditation, and interested in kind of finding those silence, quiet spaces for yourself to kind of process your own emotions and stuff like that, it makes a huge difference. And it definitely does, I think, prevent mental illness coming on, and even education around relationships as well, and understanding, teaching people what a healthy relationship is, because sometimes I think a lot of people get into relationships as well that are unhealthy, and that can cause mental health issues as well, because there's abuse or whatever, and it walked into something without realizing, and then it's very hard to leave, and things like that. There's a lot of it's complex, but there's a lot, I think, can be done to prevent through and protection through education and awareness.
I agree. So, same question, Katie. What's COVID taught you?
Definitely that how during COVID, as a society, we all kind of come together, and we celebrated the frontline workers, and because in the UK we get free healthcare, it's really taught us to really appreciate the NHS. And just anyone who works in like the medical field, or police officers, or just like people who like save people's lives. And also I think it's also taught many people, me included, to like gratitude, just to be just feeling grateful to be alive, to be to live in a house, to have food, to have a family. Yeah, I think COVID has like negatively affected a lot, like when it comes to like people losing their jobs and like the economy and people's mental healths rising. But when it comes to the positives, I think, yeah, COVID's definitely shone light to like the people who help save our lives, and it's just highlighted how we should like how we really appreciate people like frontline workers.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm just reading Robert Brooker's comment here. I need a relationship with a full box of facial tissues. My nose is doing me no favours right now, continually reminding me that is on my face while I struggle with typing while shaking from enthusiasm.
Hey, Robert.
Wow, what a
Robert's
comment.
amazing.
I hear you, Robert.
What about you, Caroline? What's it taught you?
COVID. Actually, it was funny because I suppose I've said in other interviews, like before COVID happened, I had a feeling that there was something kind of coming, and I started, designing the book for the Rainbow Warrior. So it was about a year before I kind of had this really kind of conviction kind of came over me, and my whole life kind of started to kind of, I suppose a few years before that, it was kind of I felt I was on a trajectory towards something. So I did have this massive kind of passion around the Rainbow Warrior book. I had written it a few years ago, and then I had illustrated it. But I heard in a conversation somebody talking about warriors. And I knew, because the way I think, and I being a graphic designer, I know about trends, and I kind of watch society as if it was one conversation. And whenever the words change that haven't been said before, it's a change in the time. I know there's a change, something's happening. So I heard people using this warrior here and there, and I'd say in conversations, like in interviews that I heard people speaking about. And I thought, oh, wow, maybe it's time to bring out the Rainbow Warrior. So then I was like, okay, let's get it out. And it took me a year to bring it out. And then it was actually launched onto Amazon on the exact day that the lockdown happened in Ireland, for COVID. And everybody was like, Caroline, wow. And then the rainbow became kind of the symbol for children, for hope and for joy, and to keep them going, and I had the Rainbow Warrior book out, so everybody was like, Caroline, how did you know this? And I said, I don't know how I knew. I just felt, I followed my intuition, I followed my inspiration, and so for me, it kind of, I just blossomed into myself then, because I kind of had to make big decisions in my own personal life, and I had to kind of move away from, make a decision to follow my conviction around mental health for children, so I spent a year from, in 2020 kind of bringing the book out and doing the website and pushing forward on that, and kind of I took my emphasis away from the company that I was working with before, and then I started to say I could see the need for it more and more. So then I started to Flourish by Design and really kind of bringing the consciousness into business and trying to get people more interested in well-being and wellness, and through books, and how to clear public as well. So it's been, for me, I've kind of blossomed into myself during it, really, because I feel like I'm a bit like Cynthia on purpose for what I'm supposed to be doing here now, and I really feel that maybe the issues that needed to be talked about hadn't been talked about before, and now I feel that it's great. I hear them being talked about. So to me, I feel it's kind of an exciting time, actually, and then especially to be part of the Mental Health Warriors and all the connections that I've made through that. Like, we're like a big, massive family, and we're growing stronger every day. We are, aren't we, Adam?
Absolutely. Even though I get picked on daily, but it's all right. It's fine.
Don't let me have to take my earrings off. Y'all know, do y'all know what that means when somebody said, let me take my earrings off? That means I'm coming to fight. That's right.
For fight, yeah.
There you go.
Let me have to take my earrings off, Adam. Just call me and I'm coming.
Right. Yeah. And obviously for me, opportunity. That's what it's taught me. Yeah. Opportunity to look in myself, look at my surrounding, look at what's out there. Social distant? Nah, I've never done that. No. social connected, more like.
Yeah,
And
excellent.
there you go.
Woo!
There you go.
I hear you. I like that. I like that. That's
Social
tweetable.
distance? Nah, never. Social distance is a trigger to people. Let's social connect. Come on.
Yeah, that's
Right. All I've got to say is thank you, ladies, for coming on. And Lauren,
it. It's been a pleasure.
you're most welcome.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. We'll definitely have to do this again. We can't just leave it as this. I'm just trying to think of the housekeeping now. I'm back on tomorrow morning, so I've only got a little bit of a rest. I'm on with Paul Williams. I think I'm going to be either doing it on my own or we're going to have a return of Steve Knapp. Who knows? And then Caroline, you're on with Dr. Erin.
That's right, tomorrow night. Yeah. 8
Yes.
o'clock.
I don't know if there's anything
7
in the
and
middle
7.
of that. I don't know.
Yeah, sorry, 7. It's a bit earlier tomorrow night because you can't.
7, yep. Yep, I'm on at 10 a.m. UK time, so that's probably still your bedtime, Cynthia.
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
Just a little bit, just a little bit. And you're
Like
probably going to
5
be in
a.m.
college.
here, right?
Yep, and you're probably going to be in
5
college, Kater. You're going to be in college, aren't you? Yep. Yep. Right. All I've got to say is thank you. Please share this, and if you hit subscribe to us in awareness and follow us on Facebook. And yeah, we'll see you in the morning.
Brilliant. Thanks, Adam.
You're most
Thank
welcome.
you.
Bye.
Bye.